Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever looked at someone and instantly made up your mind about who they are? Maybe they wore ragged clothes and you thought they were struggling. Maybe they had fancy shoes and you assumed they were successful. Maybe they had tattoos and you decided they were trouble. But let me ask you, how often have you been wrong? We've all heard the saying, "Don't judge a book by its cover." It's a phrase passed down from generation to generation, a simple lesson that reminds us that what we see on the outside doesn't always reflect what's inside. Yet, despite knowing this, we still find ourselves making quick assumptions about people based on their appearance. Whether it's the way someone dresses, the way they walk, or the expression on their face, we often decide who they are before we've even spoken a word to them. But the truth is, the cover ain't the book. Think about the times when you've picked up a book with a dull, worn-out cover and expected it to be boring, only to find yourself completely engrossed in its pages. Or maybe you've grabbed a beautifully designed book, assuming it would be a masterpiece, only to be disappointed by the story inside. People are just like that. Someone who looks rough around the edges might have the kindest heart, while someone who appears polished and put together might be struggling more than anyone realizes. The way people present themselves doesn't always tell you what they've been through or who they truly are. A person wearing expensive clothes might not be wealthy. They could be drowning in debt or trying to impress others to feel accepted. On the other hand, someone in simple, worn-out clothing might be one of the richest in wisdom, kindness, and generosity. If we only focus on what we see, we miss out on the deeper truths hidden beneath the surface. The most incredible people are the ones who don't stand out at first glance. They don't seek attention. They don't wear the flashiest outfits, and they don't try to prove themselves through their appearance. But if you take the time to talk to them, to listen to their stories, you might discover wisdom, humor, resilience, and kindness beyond anything you expected. The greatest lessons often come from the people we least expect to teach them. Judging others based on appearance is not just unfair to them, it limits us. It stops us from forming meaningful connections, from learning from those who are different from us, and from experiencing the depth of human diversity. Imagine how many friendships, opportunities, and life-changing moments have been lost simply because someone was too quick to judge. We also have to remember that the world has conditioned us to see things a certain way. We are surrounded by media, advertisements, and social expectations that tell us what success, beauty, and intelligence should look like. But real life doesn't fit into these neat little boxes. The most intelligent person in the room might be the one who speaks the least. The most caring soul might be the one who looks tough on the outside. The strongest individual might be the one who seems the most fragile at first glance. When we judge based on appearance, we buy into a false reality, one that robs us of the chance to see people for who they truly are. Think about your own life. Have you ever been judged unfairly? Has someone ever assumed something about you just because of the way you look? If so, you know how frustrating it can be to feel misunderstood. That feeling should be enough reason to change the way we see others. If we want to be seen for who we really are, we have to extend the same courtesy to those around us. Every person you meet is a story waiting to be read, a journey full of experiences, emotions, and lessons. But if you judge them by their cover, you'll never get past the first page. Looks can be deceiving. What we see on the surface is often just a fraction of the truth, yet we tend to rely on appearances to make snap judgments about people. We assume that someone who dresses well must be successful, that someone with a serious expression must be unfriendly, or that someone quiet must not have anything interesting to say. But reality is far more complex than that. People are full of surprises, and if we judge them based on their appearance alone, we risk missing out on who they truly are. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that what we see is what we get. We're wired to make quick assessments because for centuries survival depended on it. But in today's world, where people express themselves in countless ways, those first impressions are often misleading. A person in expensive clothes might not be rich. They could be deep in debt, trying to maintain an illusion of wealth. Someone in worn-out shoes might not be struggling financially. They could be someone who chooses to invest in experiences rather than material things. Judging people by their looks alone is like reading a single sentence of a book and thinking you know the whole story. Society has conditioned us to associate certain appearances with certain qualities. A well-dressed person is assumed to be competent and successful, while someone in casual or unkempt clothing might be seen as careless or unambitious. But history proves that appearances rarely tell the full story. Some of the greatest minds, like Albert Einstein, were known for their disheveled looks. Steve Jobs, despite being one of the most innovative thinkers of his time, wore the same simple black turtleneck every day. If we had judged them based on their appearance alone, we might have overlooked their brilliance. Beyond clothing, even facial expressions can be misleading. Someone who looks angry might just be deep in thought. A person who rarely smiles might not be unfriendly. They could be shy, introverted, or simply going through a tough time. On the other hand, a person who seems warm and welcoming on the outside might not always have the best intent. How many times have people trusted someone based on their charm and charisma only to be deceived later? Looks can fool us into thinking we know someone when in reality we don't. The same applies to physical strength and capability. Just because someone looks strong doesn't mean they are. And just because someone appears weak doesn't mean they lack resilience. Some of the toughest individuals are the ones who don't look the part. A person with a smaller frame might be stronger than they seem, both mentally and physically. Someone who appears fragile may have endured hardships that required immense strength to overcome. We cannot assume someone's abilities based on their physical traits alone. Even wealth and status can be misjudged based on appearance. Some of the wealthiest people in the world don't flaunt their riches. They live modestly and avoid the spot. Meanwhile, some who appear wealthy might be struggling financially, spending beyond their means to maintain an image. Social media has only amplified this illusion, with people curating their lives to look more glamorous than they really are. The reality behind those images is often very different from what meets the eye. We've all had moments where we were proven wrong about someone. Maybe we assumed someone wasn't intelligent, only to find out they were incredibly knowledgeable. Maybe we thought someone was unfriendly, only to later discover their kindness. These experiences serve as reminders that judging by appearances is not only inaccurate, but also unfair. People are multi-layered, full of hidden depths, and often far more than what they seem at first glance. If we allow looks to fool us, we limit our ability to truly understand and connect with those around us. Every person you meet is fighting a battle you can't see. It might not be obvious in their appearance, in their words, or in their actions, but beneath the surface, everyone carries struggles, pain, and challenges that they don't always show to the world. The person sitting next to you, the stranger passing by on the street, the colleague who always seems fine, they all have something they're dealing with. The problem is we often assume that if someone looks okay, they must be okay. But looks can be deceiving, and the weight of a person's struggles is not always visible to the outside world. Think about the times you put on a brave face when you were hurting inside. Maybe you smiled through the pain, acted like everything was normal, and told people you were fine when you weren't. If you've done that, then you know firsthand that appearances don't always reflect reality. People learn to hide their struggles because they don't want to be a burden, they don't want pity, or they're simply used to carrying their pain in silence. The world teaches us to be strong, but too often that strength is mistaken for the absence of struggle. A person who seems rude or distant might be dealing with personal hardships that you can't even imagine. Maybe they just lost a loved one, maybe they're struggling with anxiety or depression, or maybe they're carrying the weight of financial problems or family issues. Their mood isn't about you, it's about what they're going through. But because we can't see their battle, we assume they're just being difficult. We judge them without knowing their story. If we could see the burdens others carry, we would likely be much more patient, kind, and understanding. Mental health struggles are one of the most invisible battles people fight. Unlike a physical injury, depression, anxiety, grief, and stress don't always have visible signs. Someone can be smiling, laughing, and going about their daily life while feeling completely broken inside. Just because someone looks happy doesn't mean they truly are. That's why kindness matters so much, because you never know who needs it the most. A small act of compassion, a simple smile, or a few kind words can make a huge difference to someone who is silently struggling. Even success and confidence can be deceiving. We often assume that people who seem successful, wealthy, or accomplished have it all together. But that's rarely the full picture. Many people who appear to have everything are still fighting battles no one knows about. Battles with self-doubt, loneliness, past trauma, or internal struggles that money and success can't fix. We look at their achievements and assume they have an easy life, but we don't see the sacrifices, pain, and challenges they've endured to get there. No one is immune to struggle, no matter how perfect their life may seem from the outside. We've all been in situations where we felt misunderstood, where people made assumptions about us without knowing what we were going through. It's frustrating when others don't see the full picture, but it's also a reminder that we must extend that same understanding to those around us. If we want to be treated with kindness and patience during our difficult times, we must also be willing to give that kindness and patience to others. Choosing to be kind even when someone seems difficult or distant is not just about being nice. It's about recognizing that we never truly know what another person is going through. The quiet person in the corner might be dealing with overwhelming anxiety. The coworker who snaps at you might be dealing with a personal crisis. The stranger who doesn't smile back might be carrying pain too heavy to show. Everyone is fighting a battle you can't see, and the least we can do is not add to their burden. The world is full of surprises, and people are often nothing like what we expect. We walk through life making assumptions, forming quick opinions about others based on what little we see, but time and time again, life proves us wrong. Someone we think is unapproachable might turn out to be the kindest person we've ever met. Someone we assume isn't capable of much might end up being the most talented in the room. People have a way of surprising us when we take the time to see beyond our first impression. One of the greatest joys in life is discovering something unexpected in someone. We meet a person who seems quiet and reserved only to find out they have an incredible sense of humor. We assume someone is too young or inexperienced to offer wisdom, yet they end up teaching us something valuable. There are countless moments in life where our expectations are completely overturned, reminding us that we don't always know as much as we think we do. Think about the times when you have been wrong about someone. Maybe you met a person who didn't seem particularly interesting at first, but after a real conversation, you realized they had an incredible life story, a deep passion, or a unique perspective that opened your mind. The people we least expect often have the most to offer. But if we judge too quickly, we miss the chance to uncover those surprises. We often think we can read people just by looking at them, but appearances are rarely an accurate reflection of what's inside. A person who seems cold or distant may just be shy. Someone who looks ordinary might have extraordinary talents. Some of the most successful and intelligent people in history didn't fit the mold of what we expect brilliance to look like. People break stereotypes, defy expectations, and surprise us in ways we never see coming. Even in our daily lives, we experience these surprises. Maybe a stranger goes out of their way to show us kindness when we least expect it. Maybe someone we assumed wouldn't care turns out to be the one who stands by us when we need help the most. Life has a way of revealing that people are far more complex, kind, and capable than we sometimes give them credit for. The truth is, we never really know someone until we take the time to listen, observe, and understand. The greatest surprises come from those who have been underestimated. History is full of people who were overlooked or doubted, only to prove everyone wrong. The quiet student in the back of the class becomes a groundbreaking scientist. The kid who struggled in school builds a successful business. The person who was once ignored becomes an inspiration to thousands. The world is full of stories like these. Stories of people who were judged too soon, but who had so much more to offer than anyone realized. And it's not just other people who surprise us. Sometimes we surprise ourselves. We discover strengths we never knew we had, talents we never thought we possessed, and courage we never believed we could show. Life constantly reminds us that there is always more to a person than what meets the eye, whether it's someone else or even ourselves. If we allow ourselves to remain open to the unexpected, we will find that the world is full of incredible people and experiences waiting to be discovered. The friendships we never saw coming, the wisdom from unexpected places, the kindness from strangers, these are the moments that make life truly special. But to experience them, we must be willing to look beyond our assumptions, let go of our quick judgments, and embrace the surprises that people have to offer. You want to be seen for who you are, right? You want people to look beyond the surface, beyond your appearance, beyond the assumptions they make about you in an instant. You want them to understand your story, your struggles, your dreams, and your intentions. You don't want to be judged by a single moment, a single mistake, or a single trait. You want people to see the real you, not just the version they create in their minds based on what little they observe. But if you want that for yourself, shouldn't you give the same to others? Shouldn't you look past appearances, past first impressions, and past the easy assumptions that come to mind? If you don't want to be misunderstood, why misunderstand others? If you don't want to be labeled unfairly, why label someone else before you know their truth? It's easy to say we want to be understood, but it takes effort to extend that understanding to the people around us. Every day we encounter people who are far more complex than they seem. A person might look confident on the outside, but struggle with self-doubt on the inside. Someone might appear distant or unapproachable, but they could be the kindest soul once you get to know them. The one who talks too much might just be trying to hide their loneliness. The one who stays quiet might have the deepest thoughts, but is too afraid to share them. We all have layers, and we all want others to see beyond the first one. The problem is, society has trained us to make quick judgments. We scan people and categorize them in seconds. We assume we know their story just by looking at them, but most of the time we're completely wrong. Someone wearing expensive clothes isn't necessarily successful. Someone wearing simple clothes isn't necessarily struggling. A person who looks tough might be the most sensitive and caring person you'll ever meet. A person who looks cheerful might be carrying a pain so deep that they don't know how to express it. When we judge quickly, we limit ourselves from truly knowing the people around us. Think about the times you've been judged unfairly. Maybe someone assumed you were rude when you were just having a bad day. Maybe they thought you were weak when in reality you were fighting battles they couldn't see. Maybe they underestimated you, not realizing the talents and strengths you had inside. How did it feel? Frustrating, right? It's frustrating when people don't take the time to understand you, when they form an opinion before they've even given you a chance. And yet, how often do we do the same thing to others without even realizing it? We all want to be seen for who we are, but that can only happen in a world where people take the time to look deeper, where people give each other a chance, where we stop making assumptions based on appearances and start appreciating the depth within every person we meet. It doesn't take much, just a little patience, a little effort, and a willingness to look beyond the surface. When we do that, we not only give others the gift of being truly seen, but we also open ourselves up to the possibility of discovering incredible people, meaningful connections, and lessons that we would have otherwise missed. We all want the same thing: to be understood, to be accepted, and to be valued for who we truly are. But if we want that from others, we have to start by giving it first. Because when we take the time to truly see people, without judgment and without assumptions, we create a world where we are all free to be exactly who we are, without fear of being misunderstood. Choosing to see more means making a conscious decision to look beyond what is immediately visible. It means recognizing that there is always more to a person than what meets the eye, more to their story than what they choose to share, and more depth to their experiences than what can be assumed at a glance. Every day we encounter people who carry unseen struggles, untold dreams, and hidden strengths. But we often fail to notice them because we are too focused on the surface. If we truly want to understand others, we must choose to see more. Most people go through life making quick judgments. We assume that the well-dressed person has it all together, that the quiet person has nothing to say, or that the one who always smiles has no problems. But these assumptions are rarely accurate. A polished appearance does not mean a perfect life. Silence does not mean a lack of wisdom. A smile does not mean an absence of pain. People are far more complex than they appear. And the only way to truly understand them is to take the time to look deeper. Choosing to see more means challenging the way we perceive others. It means recognizing that people are not just what they wear, how they speak, or how they behave in a single moment. Everyone has a past that has shaped them, experiences that have influenced them, and emotions that they may not always express. The person who seems distant might be dealing with personal struggles. The one who appears strong might be holding back tears. The individual who looks like they have everything figured out might be carrying burdens no one knows about. Think about how often we misjudge people. We assume that someone who is reserved is unfriendly when they may just be shy or anxious. We assume that someone who makes mistakes is irresponsible when they may be trying their best under difficult circumstances. We assume that a person's job, education, or background defines their intelligence, when in reality, wisdom and capability can come from the most unexpected places. When we rely solely on first impressions, we miss out on the opportunity to truly understand and connect with others. Choosing to see more also means giving people a chance to reveal their true self. Instead of deciding who someone is based on a single moment, we can choose to be patient, to listen, and to observe without judgment. The greatest friendships, the most valuable lessons, and the most inspiring stories often come from people we least expect. But we will never experience these moments if we don't take the time to see beyond the surface. It's not just about seeing more in others, it's about seeing more in ourselves, too. We often underestimate our own strength, talent, and potential because we focus too much on our flaws. Just as we need to look beyond appearances when judging others, we must also look beyond our self-doubt when judging ourselves. We are all capable of growth, change, and greatness, but we must first be willing to see it within us. The choice to see more is not always easy. It requires effort, awareness, and a willingness to challenge our own biases. It means choosing to ask questions instead of making assumptions, to listen instead of dismiss, and to give others the same understanding and kindness that we hope to receive. But when we make that choice, we open ourselves up to a world filled with deeper connections, greater empathy, and a true appreciation for the richness of human experience. When we choose to see more, we open our eyes to the depth, strength, and beauty in others that we might have otherwise overlooked. We break free from the habit of quick judgments and embrace the truth that every person has a story worth knowing. The world becomes richer, our relationships become deeper, and we become more understanding, compassionate individuals. So the next time you meet someone, pause before making assumptions. Look beyond the surface. Ask, listen, and give people the chance to show you who they really are. Because when we truly see others, not just with our eyes, but with our hearts, we create a world where everyone is valued for who they truly are, not just for what they appear to be.